Hey guys, Banana Lock here. Welcome back to another Watcher of Realms video. As you can see, we are on the test server today. I'm not sure if you guys caught it on my Discord, but I got test server access a few weeks ago, and we are here to show off some new toys today. Without further ado, let's actually get into it. We have three new heroes, and the first one that I'm gonna feature is gonna be Ancient exclusive, and that's going to be Sythra. So Sythra is a chaotic piercer archer marksman that's coming next week. If you guys caught the in-game announcement, you will see she's an Ancient exclusive and she's coming alongside Demi next weekend. So yeah, design-wise, she looks amazing. I'm not sure if you guys, any of you guys play Warcraft. She looks between like a mix of Medusa and Drow Ranger. Like, I don't know. It just gives me that vibe with the Serpentine team and everything going on. She looks great. And let's actually get into her kit. There's a lot of testing that I want to do to show where she's useful, but she's definitely outperforming my expectations compared to when I saw her initial kit. I don't think that she was going to be great, but we've found a few places that she actually works amazing in. And we'll take a look at her stats first. So it's the standard piercer range. We have a 4.3k attack. Fairly average, nothing too crazy. Base attack as well. The attack interval is all wanky because it's on the test. It's on the actual stats. So let's take a look at it here. Where is Sythra? There we go. Yeah. So attack interval 2.0 seconds is pretty low actually. So you can see why I wanted to see the actual base values, because that would tell us how good her attack interval is compared to something like Elder, which just got a rework recently. This is definitely looking a lot better than what we previously what we see in other units. But let's actually get into the kit, because that's what people are probably all waiting to hear about. So first of all, talent. When a unit retreats, dies, or the hero summons, perishes in her range, her attack increases for 15% for 10 seconds. We always like attack increase. That's the single most important stat that I would say when it comes to improving DPS. Attack is king. Damage does not beat that. And her next basic attack deals 200% damage and inflicts a 25% defense reduction for 10 seconds. Not as good as Torador's, but you know what? At least we don't have to put Torador in for this. And it is triggered when the hero's HP is below 60%. Duration is extended by 5 seconds. And the attack increase is raised to 20%. So as with all chaotics, she just wants to be on low HP for the entire fight as much as she can. And where can that possibly work, you think? Obviously Arena, single target Arena, as well as GVG if we ever get Gun to be a better defender where, he actually has good unyielding. So that's the talent. Onto the basic attack. 120% damage to one enemy, prioritizing airborne units. This is similar to what we see on all of the other marksmen. They always prioritize airborne units. Single target damage to be expected. Then second passive, continuously dealing damage to the same target reduces attack interval by 5% up to 6 stacks, which means that the attack interval will go down all the way to, from a base value of, 2 seconds. 30% decrease, that's going to go all the way down to 1.4 seconds, which is pretty crazy. And the effect disappears after she stops dealing damage for 6 seconds, and then converts to restoring an additional 2% rage per second. So it means that when the effect disappears, which is probably when she stops dealing any damage, then she gets that rage regen. It sounds like she basically gets rage regen once there's no units in range, but we don't know that, so let's actually put it to testing to know what's going on there. And then last passive, Hero has 15% defense penetration for every one ally within 2 tiles, including herself, whose HP is below 70%. She gains an additional 5% defense penetration up to 3 stacks. So it means that if you have 2 other chaotic units with her that thrive on being low HP, she straight up just gets that 30% defense penetration. So it sounds great. It's not tied to any like wonky mechanics where you gotta like get out the like. You don't have to go out of the way to actually get there. In single target arena, I could see this 30% defense penetration being on the entire time, so that's great. And then onto her arena passive is just a straight up 15% damage increase. I'm not surprised that it's not cost related because her cost is already pretty low at 15. It could be lower to match Sagat, for example, but I think 15 is fine. And then, last but not least, her ultimate. Summons Tormented Soul in attack range. So her attack range is not this, it's the normal piercer range. And when summoned, it deals 100% AoE damage one time up to 8 enemy targets around the Tormented Soul. You can see a Tormented Soul is just a mini form of her, it's another archer. And then when the hero's current HP is greater than 30%, consumes 40% current HP. That's what I want to see, because you know, with a lot of chaotic units that were bad, they don't have any way to reduce their HP, and there we go. That's Sythra's way of, you know, actually reducing her HP to get the full chaotic buff. And then Tormented Soul, what does it do? Rapidly shoots at one enemy within the owner's attack range. Initially can shoot up to 15 times, dealing 240% damage each time. And the Tormented Soul perishes after all shots are used. Prioritizes airborne targets, and the arrow gets a return count each time it hits a fallen target. Up to 3 can exist on the field. So what's interesting here is that the Tormented Soul doesn't have any expiry, which is very different from like Xeris' summons, because Xeris is time-based, that makes sense. And then Beatrix is also time-based, and then you have Anora, whose dragon is there all the time. Whereas for Sythra, it's just gonna stay there for the entire fight until it uses up that 15 shots. What does the arrow get a return count each time it hits a fallen target? I'm not too sure. Even in my initial testing, the Tormented Soul hits way too fast for us to actually tell anything from that. My guess is that if the Tormented Soul actually hits something that's already dead, it might get another extra attack when it says that, you know, the arrow gets a return count. That's what I'm guessing. But yeah, that's the kit. And then let's move on to Awakenings here. Tormented Soul's attack has a 10% chance to increase the number of shots by 1. Killing a target can increase it by 4 times. That's huge. This could be what defines her in terms of like usability, especially in, you know, single target arena when you want the Tormented Soul to exist for longer periods of time. And then A2, flat attack, that's nice. A3, when the talent is triggered, increases the hero's damage by 15% with an additional 10% against elite and boss units lasting for 10 seconds. I'm surprised this is not extended to 15 if, let's say, it's her HP is lower than the threshold, because that's what she has on the basic talent. Then A4 is penetration. A5, every 20 times the hero's basic attack deals damage, it also triggers the talent effect, which is great. This is going to allow her to actually be useful in things, say, like boss content, where she actually can't do much hits. Where the only thing that actually dies is going to be the Tormented Soul itself. So that's just going to give higher defense reduction uptime. So yeah, that's a kit. We're going to do quite a bit of testing, so we'll jump straight into that. And yeah, let's get on without further ado. Alright, the first test we're going to run is actually in gear rate 323, because we want to see how good her damage is. So when Sythra was released by the devs, they said that she's going to be suitable for PvP, specifically single target and anti-air, which I take it to be Arena. But I just want to see how her damage is like and whether she's going to be potentially useful in Gear 3, specifically to actually replace Alora on the right side. So let's actually get into the test without further ado. Alright, so it's gonna be the same deal with all runs. We're just gonna have to put all these units down, get the cost gen. I didn't do 24 because my gear is honestly not to par and I don't have time to actually get all that sorted out before we actually get to the where the embargo is lifted and we can post content. So I'm just gonna make do for 323 for now. But even then, I don't think Sythra really performs like super amazingly here. I mean, she's good, but she's not great. And you'll see why I say that in a bit. Okay. Sythra's not being used yet because we have to get rid of these guys in the middle. Alright. And move on there, get the hollow out, and Silas is basically going to help to kill off this guy here. Yeah, unfortunately, Sythra dies there because of the RNG from the boss hits. So you're going to have to redo that run. Right, Silas down. And now we actually pop Silas's ultimate. I think just now it went off a bit too late. That's why Sythra got hit. Because by right, she should be able to kill off this. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we slow things down again here. So what we're going to do first here is to pop her first ultimate. You can see her in action here. There we go. Look at that burst. Alright, it's barely finishing the side mode off. That's the main problem I have. It's very, very close, and she's possibly on the best quad gear that we have available. So that's why. And then we're going to go on to the second problem here in a bit. We're gonna have to deal with the big waves at the back, and we're gonna see if she works well there. And you're gonna start to see here. Remember, we had that question on her passive, whether the rage regen just keeps on going when she stops attacking. The answer to that is actually yes, because you can see her rage regen just popping off like crazy there. And if let's say you cast the ultimate here, the rage regen just continues popping off. So yeah, she's really great for content where, you know, it's like burst that's needed at short intervals. Kind of like a arena kind of thing, if you think about it. So yeah, in single target arena, I think she's going to be good if, let's say, there's gaps in between. But then there's also that problem where, you know, in single target arena, she's always hitting something. So she's not going to get that pause to actually give her that rage regen. So over here, you're gonna see it's gonna snipe off that unit very nicely, but the problem is that a lot of the summons here have already done a lot of their hits, which means that they're gonna expire by the time they actually get to the second wave. So that's the main problem here, and yeah, we unfortunately have our Silas dying there, but that's fine because the boss is almost dead. There we go. Yeah, you can see the problem here. I mean, we could put down the Eova to help out, but it's not optimal. You can see one of the units dying there, but yeah, two of the waves leaked through, unfortunately. We can just finish this off. In the later waves, it's a lot better. Summons again. Can deal with this guy, that's fine. Do one more summon here. You can see we could get the last ultimate off, but yeah, it's very, very sketchy. I would say she fails at doing anything in 323, but if you were to add Lady Alexandra in the mix, it's going to be a very different story. Because with Lady Alexandra in the mix, what's going to happen is that you're going to get support on the side, which is what Alora gets anyway in the first place. So we'll swap things here. Let's just put Yuri's gear onto Lady Alexandra here. You're gonna see her Sythra doing just fine in this setup. So that's why I didn't want to be too confident about this use case, because I feel like it's quite niche. Without Lady Alexandra, you're not gonna be able to do this as well at all. In fact, I'll say that Hatsuit is even better on the right side compared to Sythra here. But of course, if you don't have options, then yeah, this is at least something that you can attempt to do. Let's swap there, pop that, and then yeah, we get Silas out. There we go. You can see Lady Alexandra already doing some things on the side. And yeah. Go. Pop that. Bring down Eloin. Yeah, I'm gonna see Sythra doing her last ultimate here. And one thing you're gonna notice soon is that Sythra actually has that limit on the summons. It actually works. So once again, we're gonna see the Rage Regen popping off like crazy. Lady Alexandra supporting at the back there, and yeah, you see I can't. It's not that there's no target in range. It's that she has hit the 3 archer requirements here. But yeah, with Sythra in the mix, with Lady Alexandra in the mix, there's a very different story, because you can see right here, we are able to actually get off the kills there. It's gonna work out, line up just nice. Yeah, you can see there once again getting the support that we need. There we go. Yeah, we barely even need anything else here, to be honest. There we go. So very different run. That's why I don't think she's good for Gear 323 here. I mean, if you need Lady Alexandra for that to work out, then at the end of the day, it's not really Sythra doing the work. I think it's Lady Alexandra doing more of the work, as you can see obviously here. But of course, if you don't have Alora Awakenings and you don't have the exclusive, then I guess Sythra can be somewhat useful here. But yeah, that's the Gear 3 testing to see if she's actually even viable here. Yeah, let's move on to the other stuff. Alright, the next test here is gonna be single target arena, which is where I think she truly shines. Because if you caught the Gear 3 bit earlier, you would have seen that her summons attack like crazy. And if you compare to the next best available alternative here in single target, that's gonna be either Kigiri or Wukong here in terms of speed. And we all know Wukong has that awfully huge uptime when it comes to, casting his ultimate. And you can see right here on screen here, what we're about to showcase, how much faster Sythra is in comparison. So let's actually get on with it, do single target challenge, and we see how well they perform. So bear in mind, this is Sythra at A0 as well. And yeah, let's actually do Valdoron first here. Put him down. There we go. A3 Valdoron just collapsed. So yeah. There we go. And let's swap the stands here. Ultimate is a bit late there, but yeah, let's see if it's on time. And there you go. ING of not slamming, kicking us in the foot here. And yeah. Let's actually put down Sythra next here. And here is where we're gonna see her doing work. There we go. Just look at how fast that is. Insanely quick. I don't think anyone else in the game can actually match up to that. And yeah, it's gonna last for 2 hits here. That's fine. And Valorant did proc the Chaotic Annihilation twice already, but I think it's alright. As usual for this wave, the wave 5, even in my own experience, things tends to be a bit slower, but yeah, I think that's fine. I'm just gonna rely on auto attacks to get there. And then here is the part where, you know, things actually matter. We're gonna do that. And I'm gonna put Ardea here. I know it's not optimal. She should be placed at the back. But we're just gonna put her here so that, you know, Sythra gets that full 30% penetration buff from her last passive. And then we're gonna wait for here. And once this guy is almost dead, we're gonna do the Sythra ultimate. And we're gonna see that absolutely destroying the mob in an instant here. There we go. I don't think Wukong comes close in terms of how fast that could be. There we go. That's gonna help out for a bit. And yeah, Ardea ultimate needs to come in here. Ideally, I would want to pair it with Sagat, but the problem is that Sagat has to be placed here, which is going to be out of the Orchard's range. So this is going to have to work. I have Ardea proccing her ultimate there, and then yeah, Sythra ultimate is almost up here. There we go. Obviously, timings are not optimal here, but you guys get the idea. And then yeah, the Tormented Soul can actually do 2 hits there. They're gonna cast the ultimate here. And see Sythra's Rage almost back up actually. So it's gonna be Valdoron killing off this guy here. Gonna proc the ultimate again, and it's gonna instant delete that next mob. And then we move on to the next bit. So yeah, last wave, gonna have the Ardea ultimate first. Then Valdoron, and then we move on to the last guy here, and yeah. There we go. So obviously, she is gonna do amazingly well here. I think the timings and all that could be fixed. It could be done better, but just look at how fast she is compared to Wukong. It's almost like an instant hit compared to Wukong having to raise his staff up and do all the ultimates. And damage-wise, let's see if we can get surprise. Yeah, that's actually very impressive. I mean, Sythra is all the way up top here. But bear in mind, I know people have said that the test servers arena, the mobs are slightly weaker. That's a big problem. So I'm not sure if in actual testing she will be as good in terms of being able to finish off the mob that quickly. But I would think that she comes pretty close because with the penetration buff and everything, I think she's gonna do great there. And yeah, this is basically, Sythra in single target arena. And I think other options like Lugaru could actually work here. In fact, if let's say Sagak doesn't work because of the placement issue, but I think Valdron A3 is also crucial here in making sure that the waves before where Sythra comes online can be easily cleared out. Okay, so we move on to the next arena test now, and that's gonna be anti-air, which is where I feel that Sythra doesn't really do that well. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I think it's mainly with the heroes that are already in anti-air that are meta at the moment. I just don't see where she sits there. Mainly with the fact that she can't shoot globally, unlike Alex. And also the fact that if you have units like Ingrid and Valara, they can sort of attack out of their normal range when their hits actually go beyond the usual AoE range, and also for Valara the bounces. But let's actually see her. We're gonna have to put her in the Piercer team, obviously, because I tried to put her in the Chaotic team, but it was just awful because the only two units that can hit Chaotic are like the only two units that can hit air in the chaotic faction are essentially Sagak and Sythra at the moment with this addition. So yeah, let's head in and you guys will see what I mean. Okay. So first unit we're gonna have to actually put down is gonna be Alex, obviously, because it's gonna set us up nicely for the later rounds. Let's see. All right. There we go. Get that mark off, and ideally the mark should carry forward to the next unit. There we go. All right, so that's done. And then now we move on to the next waves. Out here. Clear that out nicely. I'm gonna put NTAwNjM down. And yeah, those procs are gonna come in nicely here to clear out that wave. Okay, now we can proc NTAwNjM's ultimate here, do some damage, and unfortunately the proc then misses that last unit. It didn't spawn in time, but yeah. So in an ideal scenario, I wanted to see if Sythra can actually help to mitigate those mistakes not mistakes, but those mistimings where, things actually don't line up nicely. But as you can see, the team is quite expensive to get out. So by the time Sythra spawns here, yeah, it's not really doing any work. Because in an ideal world, the Alex procs will have hit the units already here before they even spawn out. They're not going to get into Sythra's range for them to actually do anything. But yeah, here we have NTAwNjM. Gonna proc that, get that going. And yeah, you don't really see any crazy stuff happening. I would say that AoE unit is gonna do even better. It's not even gonna let the mobs cross the threshold there. And last but not least, we have Eova. So yeah, it's gonna wait for Alex to reach here. Yeah, the proc comes in a bit early here. I'm gonna use Sythra ultimate here, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that great. I mean, it's bursty, it kills off units fast, but the fact that it's limited to her attack range is the main problem there. I think if this skeleton archer could attack even further, it could change things up a bit. Alright, now with NTAwNjM to finish things off. And we have Alex again, which we're gonna wait. Drop that. And yeah, I think the Alex procs are all wonky, so that's the non-optimal bit here as well. And damage-wise, you can see Sythra is alright, but I think the real carry here is honestly Alex and Erlangshen. I don't think Sythra is in a place where the anti-air meta involves her, just for the fact that she can't hit units out of her range, her usual range, unlike the Exandra or Valara or Ingrid for that instant. So my take is that the place that she's probably going to be useful in terms of arena is going to be single target. I don't think it's going to be anti-air. Anti-air is still going to be not dethroned. Erlangshen and Valara are still going to be the top tier units there. I'm even losing to Erlangshen units that Erlangshen defenses that do not have Lady Exandra. That's how absurd it is at the moment. So yeah, that's for arena. And let's move on to the next task. Alright, so we have the last two arenas covered. Now let's move on to the last one, which is a pretty mean build. It is for AOE Arena. I don't think this is gonna beat the Ingrid teams. Neither is it gonna beat the SO Valaras, but I think it's just a fun team for us to explore to see where Valara truly excels. But the caveat here is that she does need the A1. Particularly the last sentence here, killing a target can increase the number of attacks by 4 times. This makes it such that her ultimate just stays on perpetually, which is kind of similar to the showcase that we saw in Gear 3 previously. Yeah, let's actually get into the run. And you guys can see how stupid this looks. So it's gonna be the same as usual where we have Adea down first. So Adea is gonna solo out the first 2 waves. Then we have Sythra coming in and a bit after this. Alright, put down Sythra. Just make sure that she gets enough rage before the summons come out. And yeah, Adea pops her ultimate. And then we get the ultimate here on wave 3. It's a bit too late there. You can see her just one-shotting this almost instantly. And that's why she's so strong here. And yeah, that's why I say it was too late, because the neat trick here is that Sythra can actually kill off the first wave units that quickly, because her attacks are almost instant. You can see her doing that, and that's gonna basically keep extending her skeleton. It's just gonna keep staying there. And the very important question I have here is that does that A1 actually extend the attack count for all skeletons? Or is it just the one that kills it? Because from the looks of it, it looks like, it's extending it for everything. Because everything is still alive after such a long time. It's very different compared to what we saw in the previous runs. And then, yeah, gonna do that, and then we're gonna get that. And now we move on to the next wave. Lupus ultimate is out, so let's pop it. And yeah, now we can summon the next Sythra Archer. You see it just killing the first 2 waves. The problem is that with this strat, you're still unable to kill off the back unit in time, which is something that Valara and Ingrid can do. I'm not sure how this will fare against high BP units as well, so yeah, but it's quite a meme thing. For some reason, she just looks so much better here, even compared to the other contents that we've seen him in. Then let's pop the last. Yeah, so now there are 3 skeletons, and it's gonna kill off those units almost instantly. You can see that units don't even get to cross out in time. Things just keep dying here. Right. Now I can't do any more summons because we're at a max of 3 skeletons. So we're just gonna do this wave with autos. There we go. Still 3 skeletons, so we can't do anything there. And let's pop the Leopold ultimate. And yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, a bit of a meme build if you ask me, but for some reason she works amazingly well here. I mean, that's granted that you get her A1. Without A1, those skeletons would have expired a long time ago. But with A1, she just works so well there for some reason. And there's really no better explanation for this. It's just the A1 working. You can see Liupo and Adea not even in the top charts here. They're just killing the last 2 units at the back end, and Adea just starting off the wave. Yeah, that's basically it. If she got the extended archer range, it might actually hit the last wave, but then it's the same problem, right? That you can't attack the last wave in time probably because you have 6 units to kill before the second wave comes in. So yeah, but that's the showcase. So that's the last of the arena. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, and we are now on to the very last segment, which is going to be GVG, because we don't have codex to test here, and yeah, this is basically the only other area where people will be interested to see if Sythra is actually going to be decent or not. And we're going to do 2 tests. First, to see how well Sythra does in comparison to Sagat. So we're going to put Sagat in the lid. Sorry, in the added here. One thing to bear in mind is that Sythra's Rage Regen passive could actually work out really well in GVG because this is one of those content where there are a lot of pauses. So you can see right here, this effect disappears after she stops dealing damage, the interval, and then converts to restoring 2% rage per second. So this is where it comes in really handy. If you hold off for too long after Sythra has attacked once, she's just going to restore their rage like crazy and bring up the next summon fairly quickly. But here's the problem. Do the summons do anything? So the caveat here is that my demon soldiers are level 1. I forgot to actually request for void cores to be sent to my test server account. So as a result, I will not be able to really conclusively test stuff. But I think the results that we're going to see here are pretty obvious to say whether or not Sythra is useful. So yeah, let's actually get in and show you guys how it looks like. So chaotic teams are not in the meta for sure. Gun doesn't have a good unyielding skill. So this test is mainly just to see their damage output to see if Sythra is ever going to be meta at all. So we're going to put the Fallen Templars in here. And I'm going to see how much damage all of them actually do. So yeah. You can see Sythra's summons have expired, but we didn't see crazy damage coming out, unfortunately. And Adea's ultimate's gonna pop off. We can put another Fallen Templar just to see what the damage is like. Because this time Sagat has no ultimate. So summons disappeared very quickly there. And yeah. If we quit here just to see the damage charts, we can see where all of them fare together. Yeah. You can see right here, Sagat is all the way right up at the top. Then you have Adea and then Sythra at the last bit. So I know this is not the most accurate way to test out if she's actually going to be useful or not. But I think just from this very short test, you can see that her damage is quite negligible in GVG. And that is versus a level 1 Templar. If we're talking about the top guilds here who are throwing level 7 Templars with like 130k BP, things will be very different. And I think that Sythra will perform even worse there. Whereas in other content, we've already seen once and time and time again in GVG where A3 Saga can absolutely shred through most of these units normally, but Sythra is just not going to do the same there. But the thing here is that Sythra is an archer, so let's actually do another test where we see how she fares in terms of handling anti-air. So to do that, I am actually going to remove Saga here because I want to see by herself whether Sythra can do any good. And in fact, we can actually even put her here just to get her to hit more units. And let's see if she actually does any good. So this time around, we're gonna use the exact same set of units. And obviously, if you use the ultimate, she's gonna shred through the flyers, no doubt. We can see that first. Yeah, absolutely demolishes the flyers here. But it's gonna be the same test that we want to run as with Saga as well, right? Which is that if let's say Saga is off ultimate, he doesn't do jack. And we want to see if Sythra is the same here. So let's actually do a full 10 cost before we actually deploy the Fallen Templars. So I can see once again, not doing much damage there. And this time around, you can see the Templars HP is dropping even slower compared to the last one. I mean, she does decent damage here, but it's nothing too crazy. Yeah. You can see without the ultimate. Oh, okay. Actually, that ultimate shredded through the flyers pretty well. So yeah, I think if let's say if you can time it better, the flyers could slip through. But if let's say the ultimate from there we see it lines up nicely, then yeah, the flyers get shredded. I'm surprised here because what I actually did previously was that I did the same run, but the flyers didn't get shredded at all. They actually passed through and the entire test failed. So let's do the same thing here. Again, see how that runs. I was a bit late there. I think it's going to be the same thing. The flyers are still going to shred through. Yep, there we go. It could be a timing thing, so I want to redo it one more time. See how that works. So the Archer is going to be completely worn out here. And now she's going to have barely any rage. So let's see if she can actually kill off the guy in time. Doesn't look to be the case, unfortunately. And that dies, and everything falls apart. So yeah. I think that previous test wasn't as conclusive because we waited for a bit too long. She got her rage out and then she does ultimate again. To be fair, her ultimate uptime is pretty great, but yeah, you can see here, flyers leak through and this basically falls apart from the anti-air perspective. But if you pair this with Saga, things could be different. But then the issue is going to be Swarm because both Saga and Sythra here don't really do well against Swarm. I'll say that Swarm is actually the biggest counter to Sythra because the random skeletons are going to eat out all the Tormented Souls attack counts, and that's how things are going to basically fall apart. Alright, so that sums up all the testings that we've done. First of all, we tried Sythra in Gear 3, where I tried to do her on the right side without Lady Alexandra. It's kind of a letdown. She can't solo the waves herself. I've actually tried putting her on A1. It does help a bit, but there's quite a bit of RNG involved. And it's A1 on an ancient exclusive unit, so that's why I'm not too confident saying that she's going to be great there. I also tried her on the left. I think at Low Awakenings, she doesn't work well. If you have her on A3 or maybe A5, she's going to work a fair bit better for sure there. But then when it comes to the other areas like Arena, she really starts to shine. So in at A1, she does really well in AOE Arena, as you saw. NTN, not so much because just too many better options there. We have Valara, we have Elangshen. She just doesn't seem to shine in any of those areas. And then single target arena, obviously, even at A0, she does insanely well compared to Wukong because there's no room for her to make mistakes in terms of, targeting the wrong unit. And there is also way faster ultimate cast time compared to Wukong because you can do her summons before the next wave even arrives. And if let's say there are leftover mobs from the last wave, the summons will actually help to clean that up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Sythra. GVG, big letdown. I don't think her basic attacks are that crazy. As you saw in the attacks where we had bad cycling, as long as she gets her ultimate up, she's gonna shred flyers. But when it comes to tank units like the Fallen Templar and all that, Sythra just doesn't really do that great. It's kind of similar to Saga, where outside of their ultimate, they don't really do a lot of damage. But the thing with Sythra is that with the rage regen passive, it is quite hard to time things. You have to deal with a different strategy. Her rage regen is gonna be on a different, I'll say, time scale compared to like Saga, for example. Especially the longer that she does not attack, she's gonna stack up that rage like crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think she's a must pull. She is pretty underwhelming in some senses. The AOE Arena was a bit funny in that showcase, but I'm not sure how well it stands up against the high BP units because if her skeletons cannot kill things in time, she's not going to get those extra attacks and stacks and things are going to look very differently. But it could open up things. It could change the way that we play Arena. But for now, with what we have at the moment in the game, she's just not as impressive as I thought for her to be. But in ST Arena and ST Arena, 100%, she's going to be meta there. She's going to be way faster than Wukong and way safer as an option, especially in defense. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this series. It is a long video. Let me know down in the comment section if there's things that you want me to test or to answer. You can hop onto my Discord as well. Link is in the video description, and I'm more than happy to address your questions. And I apologize if, things are not up to standard here. It is my first time testing units, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something and tells you whether or not you should pull for her next week. Yeah, that's the showcase for Sythra, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.